After more than 30 years of service as one of the Navy's top aviators, Pete Maverick Mitchell is where he belongs, pushing the envelope as a courageous test pilot and dodging the advancement in rank that would ground him. Training a detachment of graduates for a special assignment, Maverick must confront the ghost of his past and his deepest fears, culminating in a mission that demands the ultimate sacrifice from those who choose to fly it. Well, welcome everybody to the N-Word for Nerd podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, that is the summary of Top Gun Maverick. As we do it every time, Jason, what is your one-sentence review of Top Gun Maverick?
The first Top Gun, compared to this movie, is a bottom gun. Think about it, guys.
I go, Top Gun trades in homoeroticism for Mission Impossible Light, and it's fucking awesome. Jason, what are your thoughts and review on Top Gun Maverick, my friend?
Ooh, wait, did I come with this movie?
Spoilers will be going.
Okay, we're gonna go full spoilers. Cool, that's great.
Yeah.
It's gonna be hard to talk about this without spoiling it. When I came to this movie, I really was not looking forward to this whatsoever. We just recently reviewed Top Gun, the original one, from 33 years ago, and it was bad. It was bad. Top Gun is a bad movie. Let's just be honest. It's a bad movie. This Top Gun is not a bad movie in many ways. I actually was quite entertained, quite emotionally moved throughout this journey. Now, there are some bad spots. I believe the whole last half of the third act was some cheesy feel-good bullshit. But up until that point, I was digging it a lot. The most, I guess, the best parts of this movie, or were kind of like, are better than the best parts of the previous film, which is the dogfighting scenes and the fight scenes. Which in this film, Tom Cruise and all the other actors are actually in planes flying around and doing that shit, and you can tell. And it's actually, and it's a lot more kinetic. It's a lot more visceral. It's a lot more like in the moment, right? Like this is like it's, and you don't see this anymore because it could. And even though there's still a lot of CG in this, there's a lot of practical, just jets flying around doing jet shit. And like actually, in this movie, they're actually like kind of like doing the things they're saying they're doing, right? Rather than just stock B footage from like in the last film. So that part was really, really cool to see. It's really, I mean, obviously the reason why Tom Cruise became a producer was so he could put himself in these situations and like, I want to fly a F-18, so I'm going to get to fly one. And that's what he did in this movie, which is better for it for this movie. The story with him and Rooster, who is the son of Goose. For those who don't remember, Goose was his backseat pilot. I don't know what to call him.
Yeah. Wingman or whatever.
No, his wingman is the other plane on his wing. So he's his co-pilot. And Goose died in the first one. Spoiler alert for a 33-year-old movie. So so when Rooster shows up, who also happens to be a pilot like his dad, like because that's how movies work, there is definitely a palpable tension. But it's not only because Maverick killed his father. And this movie really boils down to that Maverick really wanted to be a more fatherly role to Rooster, but some of his actions after his father died led them to be even more tension than just the fact that he killed his dad. Or he didn't kill his dad, he got his dad killed. But I felt that was a really great emotional core to the movie, especially to the actual stakes, because in this movie, there's actually a reason why they're doing this. In the last movie, they're just in Top Gun for fucking fun, and then they tackle on this like battle mission at the end. Just, I don't know why, because it would have started just because. In this one, it's not really they're in Top Gun. They actually got a whole lot of pilots that were already Top Gun graduates, and they are actually training for an actual mission to actually do something. And I feel like that led to the stakes. Like we have to like achieve this goal together, or else America is gonna, I don't know, America less. That's the only reason I can think of that they could do this. But there was actually stakes to this, and actually stakes to their training. It's like, if we don't get this right, and what they were, I guess, told to do was pretty hard for them. At least the movie makes it seem like it was pretty hard. If any actual pilots watch this and say, "Oh, we could have done that shit easily," please let us know. But like in the movie, they make it say, "Oh, this shit's going to be super hard. That's why we have to train for it. And even if we train for it, we probably are going to die doing this." And I think, and that really is leads to the emotionality of it, to the pressure that these young pilots are facing. Or actually, they're all in their 30s. They're actually all my age, so they're not young pilots at all. But I think where it falters in this movie is definitely at the end, because even though they have these really high stakes and really like, do or die situations, spoiler, it all works out in the end. Like in the first movie, Goose dies. This one, no one even gets a bloody nose. I mean, one guy nearly passes out and nearly crashes, but no, two people crash, but everybody's fine. So in that respect, it's kind of bloodless. And even I'm not wanting people to die, everybody, but it's a movie. They're fake people anyway, so who cares if they die? But you want there to be like an actual like consequences to their action, and sort of in this movie they kind of like pull back on the consequences, because they're in war. I mean, obviously they're doing war shit. If you do war shit, people die. And in this movie, it's like, oh no, war shit's fun. We all are just having fun. So that's the biggest like takeaway, or the biggest downgrade to this movie, is that even though they do a really good job of telling you that the stakes are so high, they don't really have any consequence to it. And I think that's a detriment too. But honestly, I would have been totally bummed out if any of these characters died. I'd be like, fuck. Not payback or which is also cool about this movie, is that like I know some of these characters' names, like, and they actually have like, and this is one of the biggest flaws of the first movie. They only had one black dude, and he says like 4 words. This one, they have plenty of black dudes saying plenty of things all over the place. In fact, one of the black dudes gets to fly as a wingman on the mission, and a Hispanic dude and a lady. So I would have been bummed if any of them died, but one of them should have died, hopefully, and not Bob. Bob's precious.
Yes, sacred Bob.
Sacred Bob. He's precious. Swaddle that guy up and hug him. But yeah, I enjoyed this movie. Go ahead, Jason.
Yeah. I'm gonna address the death one, and because actually Coach Boo called me, and that was his biggest complaint too, was nobody died. So I'm gonna address that in the end, because I'm gonna tell you what I told him, that I agree with you all, but I think it's a reason from what the movie sets up, and we'll go through that. And I think you kind of know too, but we'll get to that point when we cross it. All right, guys, if you really want to know what's going to sell this movie to you, if you really want to know why this movie is fucking awesome, is that imagine a movie where you get to watch people try to hit the Death Star over and over and over and over and over again, but it's never boring, because the scenes are so intriguing and so fun that you're with it. It literally is. Go ahead, Jason.
Not just hit the Death Star once, but have to do it twice.
Twice, right?
Back to back.
Literally is that. It is literally them trying to hit the Death Star in New Hope twice and try to live to get home after they do it. And that's what's so dope about it, is because they do it, and they show it, and Maverick has his issue. So the first thing I want to watch in this movie, and I'm like, man, Maverick still hasn't grown up after 30-something years. And I'm like, how is this still a thing? How is he not dishonorably discharged? How did he not get rid of this dude? Blah, blah.
How is he not in federal prison?
Right. But the movie does something that I'm like, which if you're a real military person, you're calling BS. But for most of us that are not, I thought the movie did something very, very smart. They made it very known over and over and over again that Iceman is always saving fucking Maverick's ass when he's fucking up. And they make Iceman like pretty much like the top of the top guy. Like he's the guy, because they even talk to Maverick and go, you should be at least a 2-star general at this point, like with all your accolades. So my assumption is that Iceman got to that level, and every time Maverick F's up, Iceman finds a way to cover it up or shift them or put him in another department. And I thought that was a good way to justify that Maverick is still reckless, but is still in the league and still in the game and still being a fighter pilot. Because it'd have been very hard if they would have never addressed that and him just being like, yeah, I just obey orders all the time. I do what I want. Like
I'm the military. I don't give a fuck about no orders.
Right. I do like that because, you know, what do I always say on this show? Sometimes you just got to just do a line. Do a line to justify some things. Well, they repeat that line a lot during this show to be like, if you ain't got the message yet, this is why he's still here because of Iceman. I thought that was really good too. Like you said, the dogfight scenes are amazing. It's some of the best. I know when we reviewed Red Tails, and I said, why is this movie not getting enough pop for how good the fight scenes and dogfighting is? This one, I don't think is as good as Red Tails because Red Tails is more fictional in its display of the dogfighting. This one takes a more harsher, realistic feel, but it's still just as good. The cockpit scenes are amazing. The tension in them doing the runs is such, and like even with the stake, like you said, the stakes aren't really there in those practices, but you feel it. You want them to succeed. You want them to be able to get this because it seems like it's impossible to do. The biggest improvement in this movie is Tom Cruise is likable. Maverick is likable as hell. He is good Tom Cruise in this. Like, you root for him, you want him to succeed, you want him to win, and the fact that they show that he did learn at least one lesson from the original one is that, like, I need to be a team player and I need to protect the people on my team by doing the right thing when it comes to these things, to fights and to a mission. That is something I thought that was an improvement, but you can chalk that up to the death of his partner. But still, at the end of the day, at least he still didn't lose that fundamental part of him that's like, I don't want to lose anybody else because I remember what that felt like. And that was a pretty good scene. And I love, and that goes to my thing about people dying. So it's an exchange in there that's very subtle, but it's important. When Maverick is talking about how to run this, make this run, and he's talking to John Hamm's character, who's a higher ranking officer to Maverick. Yeah. And Maverick is like, the only way they can do this run and everybody can come back home is doing it this way that I'm teaching them. And John Hamm's character is like, nah, we can go up a little higher. They can do this and do this. Well, we'll lose a bunch of people, but at least we'll accomplish the mission. And he's like, and Maverick's like, no, I'm not going to do this. Everybody comes home. Yeah. Everybody comes home. And I think because the movie, and he says that a lot. If you think about it, it's like 3 times in the movie. It's a very everybody comes home speech. I think that's why the movie didn't kill anybody, to hit home that they did it Maverick's way and it worked out. I think I'm with you. I think one death should have happened. I think the death should have been Maverick, because the moment that he does something very, very courageous, that should have been the end of him.
That should have been the end of him.
Right. And then like I said, and then that's when I said to myself, I was watching in the theater, ain't nobody trying to see no damn Top Gun where motherfuckers running in the snow. Like, we don't play
Top Gun 3 where they're just not flying planes.
Right. But I will say this, out of that moment was probably, and this would make me buy into the moment, because I was like, I don't really want to see Top Gun for that. But probably the funniest moment of the whole movie happens in that next scene when he meets up with Rooster. That exchange is great.
That is so great. That's so good. I laughed out loud.
Right, I did too. And I was like, okay, just because they gave me that scene, I'll accept that I got to watch this other bullshit. So, but then it sets up a very interesting final dogfight because, again, the same thing. The movie does a great job of, hey, we're going to nail home the important things that you should know over and over and over. It's almost like being in the military. We're getting briefings of the same stuff over and over and over again. So they make a big deal about the enemy has these souped up planes, and our planes are two generations
We're using
old.
Bad planes on this.
Right. Right. And we don't want to get into a dogfight with them because they're going to tear our asses up. Well, the final dogfight scene is with the worst plane, the original plane from Top Gun 30-something years ago. So they're at even more of a disadvantage than even if they flew the planes they started with. And it's probably the best dogfight scenes in the whole thing. And it's a very good, well-crafted scene, especially when the super jet makes a move that's pretty much, I think it's going to go down in epic dogfight history for the scene. And you know what I'm talking about when he kind of does. I don't want to ruin it for people when they see it.
Space cartwheel? I don't even know.
Right. It's such a dope move that is so amazing that I'm like, oh my God. And I think everybody in my theater, including myself, was like, oh shit. Like, when we saw him do the move, it was like,
they even said, like, oh shit.
Right.
Bruce was like, what the fuck was that?
Right. So I thought it was fitting that he's in like a plane the style of what that he piloted initially. But I thought that was a very good scene because taking a wrestling term, they built up the big bad so much. So by the time they get into that plane, you're like, oh, this is straight dead men walking. Like, because they can, no way they're going to be able to battle these planes, blah, blah. So in the way they win, it's very, very dope. Like, it's a very believable way they win, rather than some kind of ham-fisted, oh, I'm just such a good pilot. I just outclassed this super fighter pilot. Like,
they were going to die.
right. So I thought that was a dope way to do that. And then I'm gonna end on one thing that should go without saying, but I have to say it. I'm just going to zoom in for myself one time. You know, I just want to tell everybody, Jennifer Connelly's fine as hell, bro.
Fine.
I don't know how old she is.
51.
Jesus. Oh,
I checked the ages because usually in movies, especially with leading men, you know, their leading women is going to be like 30 years younger than them or whatever. Jennifer Connelly is only 8 years younger than Tom Cruise. Age appropriate. It's nice. And she's fine as hell still.
Oh my God. Oh my goodness. But yeah, it's great. Well, go ahead, Jason.
I also want to highlight a scene that I thought was really, really important, and also really kind of got me in the back of my throat here. And it was like right after, like, I guess their first training scene where everybody was kind of doing their own bullshit thing, and Maverick was basically killing them all. And he was like, "Why'd you fail? Don't tell me. Tell it to his family. Why'd you fail? Don't tell me. Tell it to his to their family." And I was like, that is probably should be in every war movie ever, right? Like, because usually in movies, especially movies by the military, is all like, oh, gung ho, fighting's fun. Let's do this. It's gonna be awesome. Oh, Bob died. Well, he made a mistake. Sorry, Bob. But this one, it kind of hammers home like, yo, you know, if you make a mistake, it's not just your life, it's your teammates' life. And if you do, and this is probably one of the things that he learned from when Goose died, is like, the hardest part is not just going to be losing your friend, but explaining to your friend's family why they had to die or why they died. They're trying to, and then the best thing was, you know, I think Hangman was trying to give an excuse or whatever, and he was like, what excuse would be good enough to that person's family? He's like, there will be none. Exactly. And it's and I was like,
well, again, that's what I said. They really pushed home the narrative. Like, doing it Maverick's way is going to bring you home. And I thought that the payoff was right. I thought the payoff was very worth it. And that, yes, you hit that right on the head. And I think also too, yes, Black people get a lot of speaking lines in this one. Not just the one.
They're like all over the place. It's like they're part of the country or something. It's crazy.
Right. Such a good feeling. Also, I think it and I, you know, I'm not, this one thing I won't try to spoil, but the interaction with him and Iceman, I thought was amazing. I thought it was very well shot for the circumstances. And anybody who doesn't know about Val Kilmer, look up what it is personally. And then when you see this movie, see the movie after you look him up before you go see the movie, so you can like know what's really going on with them. And then like we see the movie, make some things. But I thought that was wonderful. But also, as I watched it, I kept thinking to myself, man, that dude used to be Batman. But that was just me. I was just sitting there like, yeah, that dude used to be Batman, and look where he is. But it's a very well shot scene because the limitations.
It's very respectful too.
Yes.
I think that it's very respectful about Val Kilmer. And if you don't know what's going on with him, I mean, why are you watching the show? You should know what's going on to everybody. But
yes,
it's very respectful to what's going on, and it's a nice touch, and I think it will probably be remembered once whatever happens in the future happens.
Yeah. Absolutely. So I thought that was really a dope one there. I thought that was a good workaround. Other than that, man, like, I mean, I don't know if you have anything left because I'm ready to rock on down to.
Let's give her the old score.
Right. Jason, what are you giving a Top Gun a Maverick?
So, my number is going to be heavily skewed because it came so far, right, from where it was. So, just in that effort alone, I'm going to give it this score, and I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5 because I think from Top Gun to Top Gun Maverick is a markedly, it's a 5-star improvement, but through it. So. I'm giving it 4 out of 5. Just to ding it on the hammy, but still reasonable third act. But yeah, 4 out of 5.
Yeah. I'm actually going to give it a 4.5. And what the biggest reason it gives it extra 5, the extra 5 I'm gonna give it, the 0.5 I'm gonna give it, is because we've talked about so many times. We may watch the show about when we have these reboots or rebakes and whatever, or requels or whatever you want to call it. They play on your nostalgia so heavy. This movie, I think, does something great. They play on your nostalgia early on to get you back used to the universe.
Like
let's start over.
They start off 5 minutes is nostalgia.
Right. And then they go into something new to kind of set up the mindset of Maverick, and then they go back to nostalgia, but it's done creatively. Like they pretty much redo some scenes from the original Top Gun. That's very creative, and I thought that was great. But then the other part of it I thought that was even more impressive is that it's a lot of stuff in Top Gun that just don't make no sense. It's just there to be there, i.e. the volleyball game. No reason for it to be in the movie. It's just there to be there. Well, they do something similar to they do something similar to that in this movie. But it's a reason why they're doing it. Yeah, and I thought that was a very good way to give an homage to the volleyball scene, but also make it that it's an important aspect of the movie, not just out of nowhere. So I thought that's why I'm giving it a 0.5, because this, when we talk about these requels, this is kind of what we want. We want to.
This is probably more of a pure sequel than a requel.
Yeah, okay. Yeah,
because I feel like this movie's this franchise is done. I feel like
you don't think the ending?
No, they're definitely gonna do like 9 more movies of this, but I feel like it can be done after this one. Like, it could end here and be fine.
And with that being said, yes, my rating will be a 4.5 because I feel like this is what we want from these sequels or requels or whatever we want to call it. The nostalgia feel to dip your toe into it, but then give us something new, give us something fresh, and give us something like. And also, and I know you harbor on this all the time. For once, thank God that he wasn't a fucking alcoholic or a drug addict or something. Like, my life is ruined because we gotta
bring freaking Maverick back, and Maverick's over here doing heroin in the corner. Like, I don't know if I can do this.
Right, he's so gritty now. Like, it was good to be like, no, he's not gritty. He understands loss. He understands his situation, and he's working through the world to find his place anymore because maybe he doesn't exist in this world anymore, and that scares him. Great. That's for every older person. I'm 38. I'm starting to feel that way. They're like, if I ever lost my job now, I'm gonna be 38, 39. It's harder to find a job when you're older. And how do you so I thought that was a very good pull in there. And it wasn't like, oh, he's so tough on his luck and having bar fights and he's just a shenanigan guy. Like,
the best part about this movie is the fact that they showed the logical progression of a guy who's like that. Right?
Yes.
Yes. He wants to be stuck in the same spot. But he still has learned from his previous version. Like because if first, like definitely in the beginning, he's doing this test pilot thing, and he's going to be reckless, but he's going to be reckless for a purpose. He's being reckless so that his friends and his other soldiers can keep their jobs, basically.
Yes.
So he's still caring about people, even though he's still reckless Maverick. So it's a logical progression to the character. Like it's a good movie, guys. This is what we're saying. That's what we're saying.
Yeah,
it's a good movie.
Go see it. Go see it. I know on this show we don't do a lot of talk about hit the like button and subscribe and blah blah blah, because we just feel like if we're good, you're gonna think we're good and you're gonna tell people that we're good and get more people to watch us. So I don't feel like we at this point need to tell people that. But yes, by all means, remember to take care of us when you do it.
You should know
right.
Mom. Figure it out, Mom.
By doing that, liking and sharing and subscribing if you can. Definitely share, because that's how we get more people to it, because I think we have a fresh take and we have fun and we talk about things that not everybody talks about in their middle of their reviews randomly like we do, and I think that's part of the charm of the show. But thank you guys again for listening, watching, commenting, joining us. Shout out to Wade Simmons for joining us on the show. If you watched just only the Top Gun segment and did not see or hear Wade, look at our other segments. He's on there. Again, check out his work. I'm gonna have it in the description below. He's a filmmaker. He's training to be a pro wrestler, Star Wars enthusiast like we are, Star Wars historian like we are. So he's just a really dope individual, and I was so glad that he can join us and share some love with us. And so that there. And with that being said, we will see you all next week. Thank you all again, and peace. Man, you got to put some more respect on Maverick on Anakin, bro. You can't